I am a 3-time Tevis finisher, and this is my crew.
I'm Melody.
I'm Deborah.
I'm Allison.
So there are several jobs when you're crewing, and it's super important. Jaya lays it out really clearly for us who does what and with what horse, and if you have more than one horse on your team. And so I was in charge of, when the rider and the horse come in, taking the tack off the horse and sponging them down with water as we're walking to the end timer. And it has to be a pretty quick process because you want to get the horse's pulse taken as quickly as possible. So you are literally taking the tack off as the rider is leading the horse down to the end timer, and then you are starting to sponge the horse off immediately to start cooling them down. And the water is in these big water troughs, but that has to be brought in by big water trucks. So there's some really firm rules about the water use. You have to get your water out with a bucket, and then you're sponging from your bucket. And you're definitely not allowed to, dip the bucket into the big troughs and then just like pour it on the horse. They really are trying to conserve the water for all the horses and riders, since there's no hoses up there. So. Yeah, there's all of the water on all of the Tevis ride is brought up by water trucks. Tankers. So there's tankers. Mm-hmm. And so, the water conservation is super important. And I mean, it's also really important to sponge the horses off. So once you get the bucket of water, you can get as many buckets of water as you want and sponge them off. They just don't want you like tossing the water out with the buckets. Is that
Yeah, the
correct?
Lower Quarry we pump from the creek or from the American River. I believe at Last Chance we also pump from a water source, but they're still very strict about conserving water. They do provide ice at the vet checks, so we have cold water for the horses. But yeah, we are good about so that there's water for every single horse.
Right, especially the Forest Hill, because Forest Hill's up on on the top of a mountain, so there's not a creek nearby there, I would imagine. Yeah. So when you're sponging the horse off, you really start focusing immediately on the areas of the horse that are rich in blood vessels, so their chest and their inner thighs mainly, and that's just to cool them off as quickly as possible. And they're cool when they're cooled off, when they're cool to the touch. Well, the vet check isn't until they are leaving the hold, right?
No, you can vet anytime.
You can vet any. Oh, okay.
If you remember, there's that big long road that
Yeah.
up, and then the rider walks the horse as you guys pull tack and sponge, and we go straight to the in timer and the pulse box.
Yep.
And then we go to the vet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the horse goes and eats after that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's how we usually do it.
You're the one that has to do all the handling of the horse. None of us can actually deal with any part of the horse except for watering them down and feeding them pretty much. Yeah. So that I think that's important for people to know that too, because it's a violation if we deal with your horse.
Right. Someone else can trot my horse out if I'm like injured or something.
Okay. Jaya should explain that because she's the one that has to deal with her horse herself, since she's the rider. We're just her backup. Okay. Right. We don't really do anything with the horse except for take the tack off, water them down, feed them, and that kind of stuff. And she has to do all the vet and all that with her horse. That's the important part.
I have to stay with your horse for that check.
So that's when you could talk about that.
Yeah, I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. At each vet check, the rider stays with their horse. I am the horse handler in a sense. So as soon as I dismount, I grab my lead rope. I'm walking my horse into the vet check as my crew is pulling tack, sponging the horse, feeding carrots and hay. But I stay with the horse at all times. We go straight to the in timer and the pulse box, and the rider has to stay with the horse while the horse is being vetted out. If for some reason I need someone to trot my horse out for me, someone on my crew can trot my horse, but I have to be present for the vet check. The first thing that happens when you get your in time is you go to get pulsed. Your horse has to meet a pulse criteria. Usually it's 64 beats per minute or 60 beats per minute, depending on which vet check you're at. Your hold time at Robinson Flat and Forest Hill, it's 1 hour. It starts from the time your horse pulses down. From there, you go to see the vet. This is where the vet is going to check metabolic status, lameness status, So they will do another pulse on your horse, especially after trotting out. They will check capillary refill. They will check the color of your horse's gums, skin tenting. That will give an idea of hydration status if the horse is drinking really well and electrolyted really well. They will ask you how your horse is doing. Does your horse look bright? Does it feel like it wants to keep going? Does it feel sluggish? They will check gut sounds. That's really important. We have to keep the horses eating during Tevis and any endurance ride. And then they will ask for a trot out. They will also check for wounds, make sure that no tack is rubbing, or that you make sure that there's no injuries on the horse.
Well, before all of them get to their position, the horse gets up to Robinson, all the equipment has to go up in a separate vehicle because it's a very narrow road. And so, like, there's one person that brings up everything. Brings up the, what are those bags called?
Crew bags.
Crew bags.
The crew bags.
Brings up the crew bags, chairs, blankets, everything that the rider and the helpers will need at that one spot, because you can't take every vehicle up there. And so we provide the food, the medicines, the care for the horses, and we also help with the horses. Once the rider or riders come in, we make sure they have food, they're cooled down. The horses are also taken care of, make sure that they get their feed, their hay or alfalfa, whatever they're going to have. And we just take care of them for an hour until they can get back on their horses. I think that was the main job, one of the jobs. But also that person that all the stuff will load back up and take it to the next stop and have everything set up again when the rider comes in later. So.
And when she says medicine, she means medicine for the rider.
Yeah.
Tylenol and
Tylenol,
ibuprofen are your friend.
Tylenol, bug spray,
Sunscreen,
which I hate, sunscreen, and hat, anything that a rider would need to make her next 30 miles more comfortable and stuff. So, water, anything, yeah.
I think it's really important that potential crew members realize, like, kind of the intensity of working and being a crew member. It's usually a really hot weekend. You're usually schlepping in all of the stuff that Deborah just mentioned, in a wagon, depending on how long you have to walk. You're working pretty hard in the heat. So it's really important you take care of yourself also and stay hydrated and well fed. And, like, it's a really emotionally intense scene when all the horses are coming in and there's this hurry and everybody's cooling the horses down. I really remember being really overcome with emotion. Yeah. It's exciting, but it's just it's intense. So just prepare for that.
You want to be so on the spot so your rider feels very comfortable and has no stress whatsoever, because it's not an easy ride on the Tevis.
Right.
It's not an easy ride at all. Not that I will ever do it. but yeah, so our job is to make their job so much easier. Their riding so much easier. So
the crew is definitely a welcome sight. When the rider comes in, I every year I've ridden Tevis have been so excited to see my crew. You guys have a really important job and are very appreciated.
And we take it very seriously too. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
We have to have cocktails. No. Okay, Allie, your turn.
Being in charge of the rider is a very important job. Kind of pulling off of the intensity of the moment, I think an important thing to keep in mind is your rider, no matter how well you know them, is not going to be behaving quite the way they normally do. And you should not take anything personally. And so you got to roll with every little thing that they ask for, demands, move as fast as you possibly can, because their emotions are really high and intense. And that's okay, because that's what they're doing. It's what they're there for. And so responsibilities include things like making sure they sit down and rest, making sure they drink water, making sure they eat, offering ibuprofen and Tylenol, sunscreen, refilling electrolytes, making sure that they remember little specific tasks for their horse, and keeping in mind a 15-minute in timer.
15 minutes. Remind me 15 minutes before I have to tack up my horse to go out.
Okay. Remind the rider 15 minutes before they have to tack up. Yeah.
So that we're out on time. We want to utilize the time really well in every vet check. And you don't want to stay there any longer than an hour. So 15 minutes before I'm out, I want my crew member to tell me I'm tacking up, I'm on my horse, I'm walking to the out timer. And you're walking to the out timer with me for emotional support.
Oh, yes.
Allie is my emotional support animal.
Absolutely. Yes. Whatever the rider needs, hugs, a shoulder to cry on for 15 seconds, anything.
In 2024, I was riding with a junior, very experienced, lovely junior, took wonderful care of her horse. It was extremely hot that day. We had two little incidences on the trail. One was she was trotting downhill. I can't remember exactly where we were. I think we were headed into Last Chance, which is the vet check right before the first canyon. And her horse took a little misstep in some soft dirt, took a fall. So they both went for a tumble. Neither one of them were hurt. She got right back on, rode like a champ. We get down into the first canyon and she was feeling very hot, as I was. We get right into the American River, and I think the cold water hitting her so intensely in such heat caused my junior to vomit. So we had a vomiting episode at the bottom of the canyon. It was the first canyon, Deadwood. So that was fun. But when we got into Forest Hill, there was definitely, we needed our crew. We needed help just getting her electrolyted, getting some food in her, taking a look at her ankle because she was having some ankle pain from the fall. And so my crew does remember that pretty intensely, just kind of stepping into action and really kind of coming to her aid.
Yeah.
And the year I crewed for you, Naya was the rider you rode with.
Mhm.
And usually when riders do the Tevis together, they generally stay together.
Mhm.
But Jaya came in without Naya, and Naya's mother and I were going to crew for Naya. So emotions got really high because here comes Jaya without Naya. So we were pretty worried, and and there's such a rush that Jaya continued on down, and you were able to tell us what was going on. And basically Naya's horse was slowing down, and she was having a hard time pulsing down at maybe a previous vet check. So she was just behind. So she did come in, everything was fine, but there was just that kind of stress and emotion of her being a little bit behind. And so again, speaking to what Allie was saying, it's just so important that there's that emotional support and everybody's just like really able to meet that moment as it is and be the support for the rider. Cause that's really who needs the support. I just remember I felt so emotional, but again, it's really the rider whose emotions are probably highest of all. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember you did a really good job of comforting Naya that year.
Yeah. It was really sweet. It's just it's such a profound, unique experience. It's really hard to describe until you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm actually a hoof care practitioner, so I trim horse hooves. So I met Jaya through the horse world, and then horses need some kind of permanent, either glued on or nailed on hoof protection, whether it's shoes or composite shoes or boots at the Tevis. So I came up and did the hoof protection for Jaya and Naya's horses that year, and then I stayed on as a crew member. But I had known Jaya several years before that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I met Jaya just maybe a year before that, before I crewed for her. I only crewed the 1 year. I decided to start taking lessons, so I was taking riding lessons with Jaya, and then she says, "Deb, why don't you just become a crew member for me?" I said, "Sure." I had no idea what Tevis was. Trust me, I had no idea. Then she goes, "We're going to just take a little ride a week before so I can show you what we ride." So she took me down this canyon, and I'm going, "Yeah, it's not my thing. I'm old. I don't need this," And so, but I learned so much from Jaya, and then doing this Tevis, I had so much admiration for every rider because it is not an easy ride. it wasn't easy for crew members, and we sit more than we do anything. You know, we're waiting. It was like, could you guys get here so we could do something? You know, and they're off stressing themselves out. And we're in stressing ourselves out because they haven't gotten there and they should be here by now. But yeah, so, but I learned so much by crewing how important it is to take care of your horse in that kind of a situation, because the horse is under a lot of stress like the rider is. And it was so, I just said, oh, sure, I can crew. Not a problem. It was like, oh my God. And I mean, I loved it. And I would do it again in a flash if Jaya asked me to.
Good. So you're crewing for me next year.
Okay. And so I will, because I do like it. And, but yeah, I'm so impressed with all the riders. It's just amazing. And when they finish, it's just, I mean, I didn't make it to the finish line because I hadn't slept for 3 days before because I was so nervous, and I didn't even ride. But Time Magazine did an article on Tevis.
The 10 most difficult, challenging
rides or whatever.
Endurance
thing.
events. Yeah.
And it was number 7 on the list. Yes.
And not just
7.
horse endurance, like people,
All kinds of
yeah.
kind of
Iditarod was on there.
Yeah.
I forgot what else. Yeah.
But I mean, when she said that to me, I went, yeah, not my thing. So, but when you go and see, like I said, I got the privilege of seeing at least one of the canyons, and I went, and that wasn't even the worst canyon. So it's like, yeah. And it's just, I'm amazed. I'm impressed. I'm amazed. And anytime anybody would ask me to do anything for them at the Tevis, I'm on it. Whether I can walk or not, but I can always sit. I can feed carrots to the horses. I'm known as the treat person to every horse. Every horse knows me because I give them so many treats. So.
Oh, did we talk about that? That you're actually, when I'm taking the tack off and sponging off, we're starting to give small bites of food to the horse immediately.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what I got to say about Tevis.
Last year was my first year crewing for Tevis. I've crewed for Jaya a few times, and it's always fun. But let me tell you, crewing for Tevis is nothing like crewing for other endurance rides. It's way, way more intense, way higher pressure. So you got to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually piggybacking on that, my biggest thing is that I feel like it's an honor to start the Tevis. Whether or not you finish, it's just an honor to be there and to be riding that type of caliber horse and being amongst that caliber of riders and other horses. So I like to approach the day as fun. I've heard the word stress come up a lot. And there is an intensity to it that drives some of us. Mm-hmm. Endurance riders and Tevis riders, I think, are sometimes considered a different breed. But stress management, I like to make the experience fun for my crew. So I will give them gifts. I usually spoil them with a hotel room. And the gifts that I give them have to do with things to help them get through the day. So lots of caffeine, whether it's a Starbucks gift card or energy fizz sticks. There might be a little shot of alcohol and something or other. For the finish line, a celebratory shot at the finish line. I like to make it a lot of fun. Everyone has a crew shirt, and usually there's some fun, inspiring quote on the crew shirt. Bandanas, chapstick, sunscreen. I think of everything that my crew might need to help them and make them more comfortable for the day. So,
and it is a lot of fun.
It is. And I think another thing that's really important is that where Tevis starts is the middle of nowhere. And Jaya said to Deborah, like a week before, oh, by the way, can you drive my trailer out? Never driven her trailer before, never driven her. No, that's not true. I did drive one. And it's in the middle of nowhere. And it's a dirt bowl coming out of there. I mean, you cannot see. You're behind somebody. You're in front of somebody, behind somebody. And it's dirt. It's nothing but dirt. And she goes, oh, you can drive it down to Robinson Flat. I was just going, I don't even know where that's at. How can I drive it down there? But, and then you camp the night before, and you meet a lot of nice people at this camp and everything. And everybody's so helpful. And then in the morning you hear, loose horse. Oh my God. But, it was just prepping for it is fun. Just getting ready for the ride itself. And then you hear all these people at 5 o'clock in the morning going on their horses, and you're going, yeah, this is life. This is what everything's all about. It was, to me, it was a very bright, happy day for me, even though it was tense. I wouldn't call it stressful. I call it more tense than stressful.
Yeah.
Because and it's a great experience. I think everybody should experience it one time, just for fun.
I feel like I have like bragging rights being a Tevis crew member. Like I crewed for the Tevis. You know, it's like Jai was saying, it's a really prestigious, very competitive ride. Just to even, for a rider and horse to even get there is a huge deal. So to go and be a part of it is an honor, really. Yeah.
Well, and how important it is how that year that you and Addison rode, how many people came from out of the country? There was like,
I can't remember exactly, but there was probably 7, 8, 9 countries represented.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's look how important that is when you have
Yeah.
people come all the way from other countries to ride in something like that. So yeah, it was pretty special.
As a rider, it's a pretty magical ride. You're on a historic trail and you're in the back country. Most of the time you don't have cell service. It's just you and your horse out there. And being out there in the wilderness, depending just on yourself, having to take care of yourself and your horse, and just being on this incredibly magically beautiful trail, but also riding in a form of transportation that was so common before we had cars. You're feeling every single person that rode before you. And that's pretty magical.
I've told people for years that Tevis was like a drug, and that it's one of those events that once you do it, you either are totally hooked or you'll never touch it again. And it's the kind of thing that it has so much magic to it and so much energy on its own. It's almost like it's like a live organism, you know, from the time it begins and the time it ends, from late Thursday night till late Sunday evening. There's just this time warp that exists, and it's called the Tevis.
I get the goosebumps when you were saying that. I actually cried when I was crewing. Like, not out, I wasn't like outwardly bawling, but I just, like I was saying earlier, I was so overcome with emotion watching the horses come in, who you could tell though. I mean, we have talked about the horses, but really the star of this whole show are the horses. And I mean, they come in and they have been giving it their all. You know, they are sweating, they are tired, but they are athletes and they're up for it. But I just watching it, I was so teary, but I held it together.
And I think one of the, like when Jaya got ready to go and Addison got ready to go in their first one, I felt so much pride in seeing that they got to continue on, because there was another girl in our group and unfortunately she pulled. But when you got to see Addison and Jaya leave the checkpoint, it was like, we did it. Yeah, it's good. Hurry up, get all this stuff ready. We got to go to the next part.
Yeah.
And that's how it was, you know. And then they'd come to the next stop, and you're waiting, in anticipation. Are they okay? Are they? And they make it to the next one. And it's pride. It's a lot of pride when you get to help them and you get to see that they leave and they feel good leaving too, not stressed or anything. So that was a really good. To me, I was very proud to be a part of the group stuff. So I would say you need to take it in stride. Understand that when they're coming in, they're tired, they're hot, horses and rider. They're wanting to relax and stuff. And I just think that you, as a crew member, you need to be chilled and not be stressed, so they don't feel the stress or not stress, but the tension that you're feeling, to make sure that they're okay. I think it's a great privilege. I think everybody should try it. It's not for everybody, I can tell you that much. But like I said, I was very proud to be part of it. And I was a minute part of it, but I was very proud. And like I said, I'll do it again.
Badass.
I don't think I could say it on camera. My thing is far out. Cool. Very cool. It's like, I wish I was younger. I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. But yeah, cool. Just really cool. Just the thought of it. Just to be able to ride in the backcountry and all that, and the camaraderie that you have with everybody else. Yeah, yeah. Do it. Just do it.
Excitement is the first word that comes to mind for me. It's, I mean, I would go even if I wasn't crewing just to cheer on a favorite rider and see all the horses coming in. And it's just really moving and exciting, beautiful experience.
Let me tell you this: the next time I would do it, we didn't do it because Jai just we had to go to the hotel. Well, I didn't get to see the finish, and I was bummed. I wanted to be able to see somebody come and finish it. I know a lot of them finished it, but if you're not there at the finish line, it's like I kind of like felt like I was shortchanged. You know what I mean? I didn't get to see the finish. You know?
Okay, if you crew for me next year,
I would say get plenty of rest leading up to it. And like Ali said, really just be prepared to follow direction and not take things personally. I know when I crewed, there was people yelling there. Even if it wasn't part of my crew, you could see if there was intensity going on, just to really keep your own center, keep a positive attitude, and just really focus on your horse and your rider, and try to let everything else like dissolve into the background and just focus on what you're there for, and hydrate and take care of yourself.
that's my best advice, is for my crew to take care of themselves. I always say, please take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of me and my horse. Yeah. Actually, the following year.
Oh,
I might not be riding next year.
Like
The following year, I will finish.
Yeah.
You can see me cross the finish line.
Because I'm the only one that will stay awake the whole time.
You and I were up at the finish.
I know
We did. We did go to the finish line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth not
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yeah. Every year I have not finished. I have still gone to the finish line and watched my fellow riders.
Which
Yeah,
is
that's
starts
been
like
fun.
at what, 5 o'clock in the morning, or
Well,
what time is the first?
No,
one?
the first riders usually cross 10 p.m. ish. I'd have
Really?
to look at the stats. Yeah, the front
Oh.
runners. But the golden hour is like 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. when it's like the bulk of all the
So,
riders
but-
are finishing.
When you're talking about it, then you need to let people know that it is an hour. It's a time thing, right? Huh?
Yeah.
You only have so much time to finish it.
22 hours of riding time, technically,
Is it
because you have
a big
24
time?
hours, but you have a 1 hour hold at Robinson and 1 hour hold at Forest Hill. So you have 22 hours to complete 100 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, you got to go to the finish line. You just got to go to the finish line. I was bummed, but then again, it was kind of nice taking a shower.
Trail opens at 5:15, but we have to be on our horses at 4:30
Yeah,
walking out to
yeah.
the start.
Yeah.
Mhm.
hence the lots of rest beforehand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
bring extra socks.
Yes, extra socks are good.
When you're sponging the horse, your shoes will get completely filled with water, and then you'll get blisters if you don't have
Oh, extra clothes. Just bring extra everything.
extra everything.
My name is Jayamae. We're here at Lightfoot Horse Farm, which is my ranch. I am a trainer here, horsemanship instructor, and I'm also an endurance rider, 3-time Tevis finisher, and I serve on the Tevis Board of Governors. Crewing for the Tevis. I think crewing for the Tevis is a pretty unique and remarkable experience. I have crewed for Tevis many times. I've ridden it more times than I've crewed, however. And I am very particular about my crew. I want people that I know are organized, that know something about horses, but they don't necessarily have to be a horse person, because I have my crew separated. Usually I will have 3 to 4 people on my crew. One person is assigned to me, meaning they take care of what I need. Sunscreen, filling my water bottles and my saddlebags, making sure I'm eating, making sure I'm drinking, making sure I'm taking Tylenol if I need it, or ibuprofen. So I have someone assigned just to me, and then the other 2 or 3 people are assigned specifically to the horse. My philosophy is that if I'm organized, my crew is going to be organized. So when I'm packing for the Tevis, I have separate crew bags. One goes to Robinson Flat, and I actually label it Robinson Flat. I will put a label on it with my name and then tag it Robinson Flat. So my crew knows that's what goes to Robinson Flat. One thing that always goes to Robinson Flat is the cart, a collapsible cart that they can open up and put tack in, because there is a little bit of a trek. I don't have my horse trailer at Robinson Flat because no trailers are allowed there. So it's nice to have the cart to put stuff in. My other crew bag will be labeled Forest Hill, and that crew bag stays in my horse trailer, which will go to Forest Hill Vet Check. The other thing I like to do is have a card, which actually I will give to all of my crew members before the ride. I host a crew meeting and dinner. I spoil my crew with a homemade dinner, and then we have this fun meeting afterwards. And I go over everything that's on my crew card. What I put on here are directions to all the vet checks and then specific jobs. The thing with a crew is every single person has to have a job. If they don't have a job, then nobody knows what to do, or two people are trying to do one job when you only need one person to do that job. So I will have the person's name and then exactly what they're assigned to, whether it's pulling tack, sponging the horse, feeding the horse, taking care of the rider, whatever. The other thing I do to keep everything really organized is I also put a card on each crew bag which specifies what is in the crew bag. That way my crew knows if they're looking for something, where to find it, which crew bag it's going to be in if I have more than one going to one vet check. The essentials in my Robinson Flat crew bag: electrolytes for sure, electrolytes for the horses. I also have electrolytes for myself in here. Sponge. Extra buckets always go so that you can sponge your horse, and then also have water for the horse's mash. I always have extra hoof boots because, gosh forbid, I should throw a glue-on boot on the trail. I will need to put another hoof boot on. So I have a rubber mallet, and I also have vet wrap to replace my hoof boot if I need to. I always carry an extra halter and lead rope. Things for the rider: sunscreen, Tylenol, ibuprofen, your best friend on a 100-mile ride, anti-monkey butt powder. Love that stuff. I also have either a rump rug or a full cooler. A lot of times I'll have the crew bring both. If it's warm at Robinson Flat, like if it's unseasonably warm, then I'll just use the rump rug. If it's cooler at Robinson Flat, which sometimes it is, then we'll put the full cooler on the horse. That's basically my essentials for Robinson Flat. Oh, and of course, you can't forget the apples or the carrots. Horse treats are an essential. And then I always have little snacks for the rider too, to refill my saddlebags at Robinson Flat. At Forest Hill, because we're going to be going out in the dark, my essentials at Forest Hill actually are a change of clothes. For two reasons. One, I'm going out in the dark, and so I want to have light clothing on so that other riders can see me as they're approaching me on the trail. And then also my crew can see me as I come into the finish line. So usually light colored riding pants, May Babes Equestrian, my favorite, absolute favorite riding tights. And then also white shirt. I always ride to the finish line in a white shirt. And I don't ride with a light at Tevis, but I always carry a headlamp with me in case of an emergency. So I have my crew either duct tape this to my helmet, or I can stick it in a pocket. But I make sure that I have my headlamp. And then the other thing at Forest Hill, because I always jump into the American River at the bottom of Devil's Thumb Canyon, I always bring extra socks and then extra shoes for Forest Hill too. The other thing that I do at Forest Hill, which is absolutely, I think, a godsend, every rider should do this if they have time. I don't have a fancy living quarters horse trailer. I'm kind of old school and rough it, but I have my crew fill up my sun shower and hang it in the back of my horse trailer. This is super refreshing when I've ridden 68 miles and I'm getting sore and tired. Just quick rinse off, change my clothes, and then I head out to the finish line. So that's all my essentials, basically.